Okay, so last week I did this thing that you would only ever do if you were supposed to be writing your master's thesis, which is what I'm supposed to be doing. I went through all of the series that I've listed that I want to read on Goodreads, and I put them all in a spreadsheet, and I categorized them from priority 1 to priority 4, which is the lowest priority. I knew I was kind of struggling to figure out which series I want to pick up next, but this was honestly just way over the top, and I didn't need to do this, but I was procrastinating, so yeah. And so that's 240 series. I think you need that for context. It's not like 20 series that I put in a spreadsheet. No, it's 240 series that I put in a spreadsheet. Because apparently I want to read 240 series, plus a bunch of standalones, obviously, because I have almost 600 books listed as want to read on Goodreads because I am out of control. And but it was really helpful to figure out, like, because there are some series that like I would want to read at some point, but I'm like way less invested. And then there are other series that I'm like, why haven't I read this yet? I need to read this. I need to know what people are talking about. So obviously those are different things, and I should be prioritizing that second category, obviously. So it was good to figure it out in a way. Today I will go through the series that I prioritized as priority one. So the highest priority series. I might make follow-up videos about like my priority 2 series and like my priority 3. I don't know what I would title that one. And maybe priority 4 even, be like, these are series I might never read. I don't know. I might do that if I can't think of any better video ideas. But today I want to talk about my priority 1 series. So the series that I know I want to read, I want to get to fairly soon. I don't know how soon, because obviously these are series that I haven't started yet. So I do have series that I'm already reading, so obviously those kind of take priority. And there are standalones too, so I don't know when I'll get to all of these series, but when I'm thinking about like, okay, I want to pick up another series, then these are the series that I'll go to first and look at first. Obviously this may change. I might change priorities. Like if I hear a lot about a series that I initially prioritized as just like level 3, and then I hear so much about it, I want to bump it up, then obviously I can do that. Like this isn't mandatory. Like I don't have to stick to this. But it was just, kind of fun and kind of procrastinating and, very classic me. This is like exactly the kind of thing that I would do. So now I have a spreadsheet and I am gonna use it. So I put 25 series as priority 1. Still quite a lot. I mean, 25 series, like, yeah, it's not that many. Obviously, it's a lot easier to tackle than 240 series, but 25, I try to have only tops 10 series ongoing at a time to be able to like keep up with them and not wait too long in between books and all that kind of stuff. So I am a little bit limited in how many series I want to start, because obviously I'm already reading several series. I think I have 7 series ongoing at this moment, so I do have space for, 1 or 2 more, but still, I can't start 25 series right now. That would be crazy. And 17 of those 25 series are adult fantasy series, because adult fantasy is by far my favorite genre, it seems. And obviously a lot of adult fantasy is written in series form. So it's quite natural for me to want to read a lot of series within that genre. So I'm gonna start with the other series, like the series that aren't adult fantasy, and then we'll go into the adult fantasy ones. So I'll put like little timestamps. So I'm gonna go through this in like no particular order, just in the order that they're listed in the spreadsheet, just in the order that I put them in. But at the end of this video, I'll go through and like talk about my highest priority, which I just picked now. So my like top 5, like these are the ones I want to start the absolute first out of these 25. But we'll get to that at the end. So the first one I have is the Sherlock Holmes series by Arthur Conan Doyle, which is obviously a classic mystery series following, Sherlock Holmes, the most famous detective ever, I guess. His, journeys in London in the late 1800s, early 1900s, and the stuff that he gets up to. Second, out of my non-adult fantasy series, I have the Emily series by L.M. Montgomery, which is a classic young adult series following this girl Emily, who is an orphan, and she moves in with her relatives, and, you know, she meets friends, she grows up, kind of classic. Ella Montgomery wrote the Anne of Green Gables series, which is one of my favorite series of all time, but I've never read any of her other books. And after Anne of Green Gables, which is obviously what she's most famous for, she's also quite known for the Emily series, which is only 3 books and follows Emily as she grows into an adult. And I've heard that that one is also supposed to be very good. So it's only 3 books, and I do definitely want to check that one out as well, even though I doubt it will be as good as Anne of Green Gables to me personally. Third out of the non-adult fantasy series is the Mars trilogy by Kim Stanley Robinson, which is an adult sci-fi series written in the 90s. It's about the terraforming of Mars, I believe. The colonization and how humans move to Mars, I guess. I don't really know all that about it. I just know that my mother has talked about it being really good. My boyfriend is currently reading the first book and he seems to be enjoying it. So it's really bumped that series up in my mind. So I do want to get to that one as well. Next out of the non-adult fantasy series is the archived duology currently, but I think another book is planned, by Victoria Schwab. And this is about a library where the books are dead people and dead people's stories. It's about a girl who has to be a librarian there basically, and so deal with the dead stories, because sometimes people will come out of their stories, the dead books will wake up. I don't really know. I just thought it sounded really interesting, and it's a YA fantasy that I'm definitely interested in picking up fairly soon. Next, I have the Cinder Spires series by Jim Butcher. Now, obviously, this is adult fantasy, but it's also kind of steampunk, so I put it in this sci fantasy, so that's why it doesn't count as the adult fantasy section. I've heard a lot of really good things about the first book, and the only book that is so far out. It came out 6 years ago, so I feel like he needs to get on it with writing that one. But it's a sci fantasy about this world where there are big spires that tower over the mist shrouded surface of the world, and people fly steam-powered airships in between them, and there's a talking cat. And honestly, I don't really need to know more than that. I am a sucker for flying ships. Not spaceships, actual ships. I don't know why. I think it's partly because of Treasure Planet, which I loved as a kid, and because of the Stardust movie, which I was obsessed with. So I think that's all I need to know, and I've heard such good things about it, and a talking cat sounds fun. So I would love to read that series, but obviously he has to get on it and write the second book. Next series that I have is the Arc of a Scythe series by Neal Shusterman, which is a young adult sci fantasy, I guess, about this kind of dystopian / utopian future where humans have conquered death, and instead there are people who have to go around killing people to maintain population control. And so I thought that sounded really cool. It seems like a really strong concept, so I am really interested in picking that one up as well. Next, among the non-adult fantasy is The Murderbot Diaries by Martha Wells, which is an adult sci-fi following this robot, self-aware robot named Murderbot, or that calls itself Murderbot. And it's supposed to be really funny, and it's pretty short books, at least in the beginning of the series. And it seems really fun and really easy, and I don't know, I'm just really interested in it. And finally, the last series that is not adult fantasy is the Scholomance series by Naomi Novik. I am a big Naomi Novik fan. She wrote one of my favorite series of all time, the Temrare series, and I also really liked her standalone Uprooted. So, and I think the Scholomance series sounds really fun, so I absolutely want to pick that one up in not long at all. Okay, so that's all the non-adult fantasy series. Now let's move into the main portion of this video, I guess. This video has already gone on for a while, which is the adult fantasy section. So 17 of those I have prioritized as level 1, top priority. And the first one is the Gentleman Bastard series by Scott Lynch, which follows these young orphans who have been raised to be swindlers and thieves, and they put on elaborate heists. I don't really know exactly what goes down, but it seems really fun. I've heard really good things about it. Next, I have the American Gods duology by Neil Gaiman. I know technically it's not really a series because you can read the books separate from each other, but I'm counting it as a series for the spreadsheet, and I really like Neil Gaiman. I'm getting more and more into him, and American Gods is something that is high on my priority list to read from him. Next, I have the Dresden Files series by Jim Butcher, which follows this magical, like a wizard detective. So it's supposed to be like kind of pulpy, kind of fun, kind of, magical mystery of the book, like of the week. But I've heard that it really grows from there and it really develops into something that's a lot bigger and a lot deeper than that. And I don't know, it seems like fun. It's a little intimidating because the series is so long. I believe there are like 15 plus books out already and it's not finished. So it's a little daunting to take on because of that, but it does sound like fun. Next, I have the First Law trilogy by Joe Abercrombie, which is obviously a huge classic. It's a, standard grimdark. Or not standard, but it's like it sets the standard for grimdark. And I quite enjoy grimdark, or I don't know, I haven't read that much. I love the A Song of Ice and Fire series, and that one is not at all too grim or too dark for me. So I guess I like grimdark, I don't know. But I've heard that the First Law trilogy is supposed to be really good, and that the like extended First Law universe with like the standalones and stuff is supposed to be like even better. So I do definitely want to like jump in there and get some of that. Next, I have the Farseer trilogy by Robin Hobb and the whole like extended Realm of the Elderlings world, but I obviously you kind of want to start with the Farseer trilogy, so that's the one that's on the spreadsheet. And so it follows this boy named Fitz, who's a kind of royal bastard and who's then trained to be the royal assassin. And stuff happens to him. I've heard a lot about this series recently and people seem to love it, and it seems like the Realm of the Elderlings just gets like better and better for like by each trilogy. So I definitely want to jump in on that. Next, I have the Mistborn saga by Brandon Sanderson. The setting is like, what if the evil Dark Lord won? And then, what would the world look like? And then it follows some people who want to overthrow the Dark Lord like 1,000 years later. Like, he's ruled for 1,000 years, the world is in shambles, and some people want to take him down. And it's got a really cool magic system based around like metals and stuff. And continuing with the Brandon Sanderson theme, I also have the Stormlight Archive on here, which is his like giant epic, which I don't even know how to describe. I feel like people who have read it don't even know how to describe it, but it's about this stormy world where like there's a bunch of like old knights or like mythological knights almost that have to like reunite and like take on some kind of threat. I really don't know how to describe it, but I've heard it's supposed to be amazing and I definitely want to read it. Next, I have the Lightbringer series by Brent Weeks, which is about some dude, I don't really know. I mostly just know that the magic system is based around colors and like light, and it sounds very cool in that way. I'm mostly just drawn to the series because of the magic system. I have heard it's supposed to be kind of sexist and some people really don't like how it portrays women. Obviously, I don't know how I'm gonna feel about that yet, but because of the awesome magic system, I definitely want to try it out. Next, I have the Divine Cities trilogy by Robert Jackson Bennett, which is about this world where like there were two different kingdoms and one of them was ruled by gods, but then the gods like disappeared and now the other like city or country is like ruling over them, like oppressing them. I don't really know. I've just heard great things about it recently. It seems like it's very underrated, but a lot of people think it's amazing. So I want to get in on that. Next, I have the Broken Earth series by N.K. Jemisin, which it seems like a lot of people think is like one of the best series ever. I have, family members who really like it. And it's about like this world where it's like a dying land and the world keeps like ending through cataclysmic events. And it's like about normal people who have to deal with it. I don't really know. I just know it's supposed to be really, really good. Next, I have the Books of Babel series by Josiah Bancroft, which I've heard a lot about recently. And it's about this dude who goes on his honeymoon to the Tower of Babel, and then he loses his new wife, and he has to try and find her within the Tower of Babel, which is this crazy giant tower, and every like floor is like different in a crazy way. I don't know. It seems really strange, but something that seems to be really really up my alley. Next, I have the Shades of Magic series by V.E. Schwab, which is about this magician dude or girl. I'm not sure, this magician. It's about this magician who can travel in between different parallel Londons. So there's a grey London, a red London, a white London, and a black London, I think. And they have like different levels of magic. They're like an ambassador in between the different Londons. And that on its own sounds really cool. Next, I have the Daevabad trilogy by S.A. Chakraborty, which is about this girl who is a con woman in 18th century Cairo. And then she like accidentally summons a djinn who then takes her off to a magical world. I don't really know exactly, but it sounds really cool and I've heard so many good things about it. Next, I have An Unkindness of Magicians by Kat Howard. There's like a secret world of magicians, and within this world, there are like big competitions in between the different houses of magicians about who is gonna control like the magical world. I think that sounds really cool. I've heard it's supposed to be very good, but it's very underrated. The whole like magical competition thing sounds really fun. Next, I have the Greenbone Saga by Fonda Lee, which is like a Godfather-esque mafia gangs slash, fantasy, obviously. And so they're like crime syndicates that fight over control of this like magical substance that gives them powers and stuff. And it's so hyped right now, and it sounds really fun. Next, I have the Poppy War trilogy by R.F. Kuang, which is, kind of historical fantasy based, like, inspired by real events. And it's kind of really supposed to be really brutal, really, like, uncensored when it comes to the realities of war. And people are so hype about it. I have a good friend who loved it, so that definitely bumps it up my list. And finally, the last of the adult fantasy series that I want to read soon is the Founders trilogy by Robert Jackson Bennett, which is about this thief in like this kind of Venice-esque city where there are different like merchant houses that control the city. She's like sent to steal like this like unstealable object, I think. I don't really remember, but sounds really fun. I know there's supposed to be like a talking key in it, like a key you unlock a door with, and I don't know what that's about, but it sounds fun. So I kind of just sped through them and gave you like really bad descriptions. Sorry about that, but if I gave you like long, good descriptions of all of these series, this would take forever. It's already taking like quite a long time. But those are all of my priority 1 series. These are all series I want to read soon. Now, if you're thinking like, oh, where's that one series or that one series? Either maybe I've already read it, or I'm currently reading it, or it's like priority 2. It's probably on the spreadsheet, like don't worry. If it's a popular series that you love, it's probably on the spreadsheet. We got over 200 series on there, but it's not priority 1 right now. If you tell me why you love it so much, it might bump it up, so put that in the comments. But yeah, so now I want to talk about my like top priority out of these ones. But first, I want to talk about some of them that I already have like distinct plans to start. So I didn't put them in like my top 5 because my top 5 is more like keep this in mind for the next series you're gonna pick. While I have a few that like I know I'm gonna start in not too long, so I didn't feel the need to put them in the top 5. And first of that is the Mistborn Saga by Brandon Sanderson. Based on my last video that I posted, I am gonna start my Brandon Sanderson journey with Warbreaker, which is a standalone currently. And so after I finish that one, if I like it, which I'm pretty damn sure I will next go into the Mistborn Saga. So I have clear plans of when I'm going to start that. It's like when I finish Warbreaker, pretty much. And then I'm also putting Stormlight on here kind of because when I finish Mistborn, if I like it, which I probably definitely will, I'm planning to go directly into Stormlight. I don't feel the need to put those on my top 5 because I have distinct plans of when I'm going to start them. That's also the case for the Broken Earth trilogy by N.K. Jemisin. I am currently reading her Inheritance trilogy. I am going to start the second book in not that long. And when I finish the Inheritance trilogy, I'm going to start the Broken Earth trilogy because I don't want to read them at the same time. I don't know why, but I've had that plan for a while, so I'm just gonna roll with that, pretty much. And so those are not gonna be on my top 5, but I guess they're like the very, very top because I already have plans for them. In no particular order, and obviously this was hard to narrow down, and I can definitely change my mind, but as I was sitting down now, these are like the top 5 that I decided on right now. And the first of those is the Gentleman Bastards series. I've just heard so much good stuff about it. I'm a big fan of Murphy Napier, so obviously she talks about the series a lot. It's her favorite fantasy series, so that's made me want to read it a lot. And I've also heard good things about it from other creators as well. I definitely want to pick that one up. It seems really fun. I know there's supposed to be a great like bromance friendship, and I always really enjoy those. And I love a good heist, honestly. Like, I was really skeptical about watching the Ocean's 11, 12, 13 movies, but I really did enjoy them, and I do enjoy a good heist. So I do wanna read Gentleman Bastards a lot. So that's on my top 5. Another thing that's on my top 5 is the Shades of Magic series. I've wanted to read that one for like quite a while. The thing is, I've never read anything by V.E. Schwab or Victoria Schwab, whichever name you want to call her by, but I just have this feeling that I'm gonna really enjoy her. I don't know why, I just think all her concepts sound so interesting. And the Shades of Magic series is the one that like is calling to me the strongest. So I definitely want to read that one. I think Parallel Londons just sounds awesome. It sounds really cool. So I think that one is definitely on my highest priority as well. Next is the Daevabad trilogy, which I just feel like whenever I hear about it, people just love it. Like, it's not that hyped, I feel like. I feel like the Daevabad trilogy is not like a phrase you hear a lot. I feel like people talk about the first book, City of Brass, a lot, but not so much like the trilogy. I don't know. I feel like people don't hype the series that hard. But still, people seem to really, really enjoy it. And the more I hear about it, I'm just like, yeah, that sounds awesome. So that one's really high up there for me as well. And I put it in my top 5 for this video. Next, The Poppy War, because it's got so much hype. I think I'll really enjoy it based on what I've heard and because my friend loved it. Not that she hasn't talked to me about it like at all, but I just saw her ratings on Goodreads and I was like, damn, good on it. So that one is definitely up there. And I don't know, it just seems really cool, and I do really like the idea of having fantasy inspired by real history. So that one high up there. Plus Asian inspired sounds fun too. I feel like most fantasy is still kind of Euro inspired, so kind of an Asian setting is cool too. And finally, out of my top 5 is the Scholomance series. This is mostly just because I love Naomi Novik so much, and this series sounds fun. Obviously, only the first book is out, so I don't know, maybe the next book will be trash and no one will like it. But it seems like a lot of people like the first book, and I trust her. Like, I love the Temeraire series, and I went into Uprooted being a little skeptical. Like, I didn't think it was gonna be my thing, but then I loved it, and she proved me wrong. So now I just trust her with all my heart, so I definitely want to read the Scholomance series from her as well. So yeah, those are what I put on my top 5 right now. Maybe not the biggest names on this list necessarily. That's kind of how I'm feeling right now and kind of what I'm thinking, but you know, things will change. I will add new series to the spreadsheet. The spreadsheet is just insane, honestly. I'm thinking about doing a similar thing for my standalone books, which I'm like, why even? Like, why? What would be the point? But I guess procrastination is just on my mind. But yeah, so that's that on that. I guess I don't have any more to ramble about. I'm sorry, this video probably wasn't that fun. This was mostly just for me because I had fun doing this and I'm a little weird that way. But if you did enjoy it, then I don't know, let me know. I don't know. I might do more of these, like talking about my priority 2 books or like my priority 3, I don't know. I might do that. I don't know, what's even the point? I'm not really sure. I struggle to come up with video ideas, so when I think of something, I kind of want to milk it forever. If you have a strong preference, which of these series I should go with first, then let me know, I guess. And thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.